Okay, let's preview Oregon against USC. Number 7 Ducks hosting the number 15 Trojans this weekend. Oregon 9-1 overall. USC 8-2 overall. And by the way, they lost on a last-second field goal at Illinois. They are almost 9-1. And Oregon won on a last-second field goal at Iowa. They're almost 8-2. So you could say, record-wise and performance-wise, they're similar. I would push back on that. USC did not belong on the field with Notre Dame. They were blown out by Notre Dame. Besides that, they've been solid this year. But again, they haven't really played an elite team besides Notre Dame, and again, didn't belong on the field with the Irish. So let me give you some numbers. I was looking back at, because, USC and Oregon, obviously, former Pac-10, Pac-12 rivals. I was like, okay, so I remember, obviously, Oregon winning the 2009 game on Halloween weekend, one of the great settings in Autzen history. LaMichael runs wild. Pete Carroll gets run out of town by Chip Kelly. Oregon takes over as the Pac-10 king. That was Halloween night in 2009, an all-time night in Eugene. 2007, they beat a really good USC team. Matthew Harper with the game-winning interception there. 2011, USC as a heavy underdog stuns Oregon. 2011 with Lane Kiffin at coach and Matt Barkley at QB. That was, I was like, that's the only time Oregon has lost in Eugene since 2005, right? And I went back and looked at the series history, and it's true. So, first of all, this is wild. How many times do you think Oregon and USC have played in the last 20 years since 2005? It's crazy. It's only 5 times. Obviously, there's some conference realignment in there, but then there was the Pac-12 North versus South thing. So I was looking back. Oregon dominated USC in 2023. Then they had gone 8 years without playing in Eugene. They played in 15. Oregon worked USC. I remember that Vernon Adams game. They won by 20. They lost that 2011 crazy game by 3 as heavy favorites to USC. Obviously, they killed USC by 27 Halloween night in 2009. 2007, great game. Shout out Dennis Dixon and Matthew Harper. And then 2005 is actually technically a vacated game for USC. Obviously paying a bunch of players back when it wasn't kosher to do that. But USC did win that game in Eugene, 45-13. And then before that, 2002. So I guess if you remove the vacated win, USC has won once in Eugene since 2002. Isn't that insane? One time in Eugene since 2002. It's not a shock because Oregon's obviously been a much better program over the last 15 years. But, you think USC, they're a great team. They've won at Autzen, not including the 2005 vacated game, one time in 23 years. I mean, that's insane. Oregon's dominated the series largely. They've won 3 in a row. They've won 5 of 6. See if I can do some quick math here. 7 out of 9. And USC simply just doesn't win at Autzen in the last 20 years. They've done it one time in 23 years. It's crazy how dominant Oregon's been over the Trojans in that time. Some game notes for Oregon from the Ducks Department of Communications. If with an Oregon win, they'd secure a 5th straight double-digit win for the second time, 5th straight double-digit win season for the second time in program history. Oregon would move to 16-1 all-time in Big Ten play. The Ducks would move to 53-4 at home since 2017 and 25-2 at home under Lanning. That is insane. It would be Oregon's 4th straight win in the series and 6 of 7 against USC. By the way, of course, College Game Day is going to be in the house. This will be the 35th appearance all-time. The 35th appearance for Oregon all-time on College Game Day. That is a hat tip of respect from the Game Day crew. Be second time this year. Obviously, they were here for the Indiana game earlier this year in Eugene, I should say. So Oregon is 20-14 all-time on Game Day. It would make them 21-14 all-time if they win this weekend. They are 9-4 at home all-time on College Game Day. So only 13 out of the 34 appearances on Game Day have come at Autzen. It's usually obviously a ranked team hosting Oregon when Game Day likes to get to the ranked team site for a newer time for that crowd. But man, just some crazy impressive statistics on the Oregon side. Really cool that they'll be on Game Day for a 35th time. I imagine Ohio State's the team that's been visited the most all time, with obviously Herb Street wanting to go there so much and Ohio State being a really good program. But Ducks got to be right there in terms of most visited teams of all time. The spread in this game, 9.5. It's wobbled back and forth between 8.5 and 10.5, but it eventually sits at 9.5. Kind of a college football playoff berth on the line type game, really. I mean, obviously Ohio State and Indiana are locks to play in Indy, certainly locks to make the playoff, barring something insane happening. And then, Oregon and USC are right there for that third spot. If Oregon loses, I still think that they're a playoff team. I still think that with 2 losses, remember Ohio State's insanely embarrassing loss at home to Michigan last year? So they were the 6th seed after that. Ohio State was the 6th seed in the college football playoff. They were technically the 8th seed, but they were the 6th ranked team. Obviously, again, crazy messed up seeding rules last year. I can't believe I didn't know that didn't get changed beforehand. They were the 8th seed in the playoffs, 6th seed in the final rankings of the regular season, even after having 2 losses and that embarrassing loss at home to Michigan with a walk-on QB without its 2 best players as a 3-touchdown favorite at home. So if Oregon loses in much less embarrassing fashion to what is perceived as a much better team, to have them only have 2 losses, I would imagine they would make the playoff, but it doesn't feel like a lock just because there's so much depth right now. But teams are going to be losing quite a bit in the last 2 weeks of the season. And again, an ACC team and a group of 5 team will get in the 11 and 12 spots this year. Lincoln Riley, 0-4 all-time against top 10 teams at USC, 1-7 against ranked teams on the road. I was looking at the public money. 63% of the public bets are on USC plus 9.5. 63% of people think it's USC plus 9.5. They've really struggled on the road this year. Like, they barely beat Nebraska. If Raiola stays healthy and is able to play in the second half, they probably lose to Nebraska. They lost to Illinois. Obviously got killed by Notre Dame. It's a USC team that's not good on the road. They're soft against the run. They're 63rd in the nation against the run, 145 yards a game. By the way, Oregon's defense, number 1 in the country against the pass, which is tremendous, but also you wonder what that says about their competition as well. But incredibly impressive by the Young Ducks secondary. I mean, dude, I just think it comes down to not can Oregon run the ball. Oregon will run it down USC's throat in this game. I think it's can USC somewhat limit that. They somewhat held Iowa in check on the ground game. Gronowski got loose, by the way. A couple of fake play-action tush pushes in that game from Iowa, which is really funny. Maiyava's going to run. I think Lincoln Riley's going to tell him to run a lot. He ran a couple of QB keepers or QB option reads against Iowa. That loosened things up for USC in the second half of that game. He's going to run a bit. Lemon and Lane are a really good receiving threat duo. I think, not to do the comparison thing, I would take A&M's to Craver and Concepcion over them. I'd probably take a couple other, but that duo is up there in college football for being a really good duo, especially Lemon, number 6. He's fast as hell. They have the back shoulder game down pat. Like Maiyava knows to throw it to his back shoulder. They have that kind of that next level chemistry, that next level communication. So going to be a tall task for the Oregon secondary, the young guys, Finney, Iffy, etc., to guard Lemon and Lane. But Oregon's 3-headed monster at running back is so good, man. Davison, Whittington, and De'Aaron Hill, that's 21 rushing touchdowns on the season. By the way, I'll pull up the stat here from the Oregon game notes talking about the Ducks running backs. So 233 rushing yards a game. That's top 8 in the country. Where's the Thunder and Lightning one? There we go. De'Aaron Hill and Jordan Davison have a total of 885 rushing yards, 16 rushing touchdowns on the season, 7.7 yards per carry combined as true freshmen, almost 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns as true freshmen. So the running game for Oregon is just ridiculous. Obviously, USC knows that. They're going to try to load up. They do have a couple of solid D-line recruits. Their D-line is getting more talented. D'Anton Lynn, obviously the DC, came over from UCLA a couple years ago, did a fantastic job there. He's a good DC, certainly well-respected, but I would be pretty surprised if USC slows down Oregon's running game at all in this one. DeCorian Moore, Evan Stewart, Gary Bryant, do they all come back? Maybe. Oregon's offense is going to be loaded when those guys eventually come back. Obviously, they got Sadiq. They have Jamari Johnson, the tight end from Louisville, came over. He's had some good games this year. So Oregon still has weapons out wide, McClellan, Benson, but they could use those guys getting healthy. I just think the key to the game is Oregon's ability to run the ball. I don't trust USC at all on the road this year. Again, kind of blown out by Notre Dame, lost to Illinois, very shaky in a win against Nebraska. USC on the road is just I don't know. I think there's tiers to this Big Ten. I think it's Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. As I think Indiana might even be in its own tier, but we can do tier 1, Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. I think that's tier 1. And then USC and Michigan are right there for tier 2 with Iowa. That USC-Iowa game could have gone either way. USC comes back and wins 26-21. Believe Iowa was up 21-7 at halftime in that game. They were up 14-0 early. Gronowski was running well. He actually hit a deep ball down the right sideline too. So this USC defense can definitely be had, but this is the biggest game Oregon's played in quite some time. I mean, if Oregon loses this game, their college football playoff hopes are they're still above 50%. I believe I said they're at 59%, and if they win, they go up to 97%. This is like an FBI metric or whatever. Clearly doesn't have a lot of respect for UW. Oregon's in Seattle, obviously, to close out the season, Thanksgiving weekend. So it's a massive game for Oregon because if they lose, they could miss the college football playoff, which, given the way the season started, would obviously be kind of a disaster. That being said, I trust Oregon way more in this game. I trust their talent. I trust their offense. I trust their run game. I trust their coaching. I think USC is a good offense with Lane and Lemon, and Mayavis playing well. He's a dual threat guy, but the physicality should be in favor of Oregon in this game, and the skill, I think Oregon's right there, if not better. The defensive depth, Oregon's better. So, is USC more desperate? You could make that argument, like, who's the more desperate team? Who really, does Lincoln Riley need this game more, or does Dan Lanning need this game more? I think because everyone expects Oregon to win this game, I think all the pressure's on Oregon and on Dan Lanning, and that could maybe help USC out. Does USC, because they're kind of a bad favorite, right? USC, you're playing Nebraska. You should easily beat Nebraska. Oh, they barely won that game and Raiola got hurt. That's the only reason, not the only reason, but that's basically the reason that Nebraska lost, right? If USC's the favorite, they're not great. But if they're the underdog, it's how I feel about Michigan. If they're a heavy favorite against Northwestern, I don't feel good about Michigan. But if they're an underdog against Ohio State, like they've been, you feel great about Michigan. And USC, if they're a favorite, you don't feel good about them. But if they're an underdog, you feel a little bit better about them. I think because it's been so bad for Lincoln Riley and USC in recent years against the good teams, the pressure, in a weird way, I think for people that watch the sports, kind of off of him. We expect them to not play well against the good teams at this point. It is proven time and time and time again that Lincoln Riley at USC does not beat great teams. Is 1-7 against ranked teams on the road, 0-4 against top 10 teams. This would obviously be by a mile the biggest win that he's ever had at USC, and that would put them in position to make the playoff. I don't see it. I think Oregon's much deeper. I think Oregon's better coached, better offense, and obviously playing at home where Autzen is a fortress, and Oregon needs this. It's not like Oregon's, it's not like they're undefeated or, I still feel like they need this game enough. Again, if they lose, they still have a 60%-ish chance to make the college football playoff. But it feels like they still absolutely need this, and I think that's enough motivation beyond just playing USC. I do think they get extra motivation for USC feeling like the rich kid school and feeling like the kind of you get there, you made it country club vibe. I think Oregon's still got kind of that tenaciousness to it with Lanning's leadership. By the way, Lincoln Riley with the backwards hat in the press conferences. I don't know how people feel about that. The herd doesn't like it, but I still feel like Oregon makes the playoff even with the loss. That being said, it's going to be a fascinating game. Final score prediction for this game, I will go Oregon 45, USC 31. Oregon covers the 9.5.